Hi, this is Ken Scott from Atlanta, Georgia. I am hosting the Atlanta Harvest of Magic in September 11th through 13th. The website is www.atlantaharvestofmagic.com. Again, atlantaharvestofmagic.com. Go to the website, take a look at the talent that I've booked. It's going to be great. The Atlanta Harvest was a great convention for so many years, and it's been away, and we're trying to bring it back to its days where we just hung out, had a good time, and saw some great magic and talent. So that's what we're doing here in Atlanta in September, and we want you to be a part of it. In a moment, I'm going to be joined with my friend Jay Johnson. You may know the name, Jay Johnson, and Bob. Jay Johnson was on the hit TV show called Soap. He was on there for many years as the character Chuck Campbell, where he had a puppet named Bob. He didn't go anywhere without Bob, and to this day, Jay Johnson and Bob don't go anywhere without each other, and Jay is going to be here in Atlanta talking about his TV work, talking about his play that he did on Broadway called Jay Johnson, The Two and Only. And he's also going to be talking about, again, some of his TV work that he's done in the past, and it's going to be a great time. So I'm going to be joining Jay. We're going to do a quick interview. So enjoy that, and we look forward to seeing you at the Atlanta Harvest of Magic. Again, it's September 11th through 13th.
Hello, everybody. This is Ken Scott. We're joined with Jay Johnson, the famous Jay Johnson. How are you, Jay?
As opposed to the one you never heard of. Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
How are you?
I'm good, Ken. Nice to talk to you.
Well, Jay, I'm thrilled that you're going to be a part of our Atlanta Harvest. We met in California in January at the CAX conference,
yes, we did.
The Cadabra Axtel venture. And, man, I'm still recalling that show that we were on together with Mark Wilson and Buster Balloon and yourself. It was a nice night, wasn't it?
That was a great night. You know, it's not often you get to go to a great show that's just up the street from where you live. Well, an hour or so, but
yeah.
It was a great venue. It was a great show, and I'm looking forward to being back in Atlanta. That'll be just
so. Yeah. So when we worked together there in California, I thought, gosh, I would love for Jay to be a part of our little convention here in Atlanta. So when was the last time you've been to Atlanta? Have you worked Atlanta before?
Wow. You know, I'm trying to think. I get through Atlanta a lot, but only as far as the airport.
Yeah. Right.
Years and years ago, I was the opening cast for the Crystal Pistol at Six Flags Over Georgia there.
Oh, yeah, right.
It was their first year, and I think it was my first summer out of high school. It was a great show. We had a good time. So if that's the last time I can remember, I'm sure I've been in for a one-nighter here and there, but this will be a new experience for me.
Good. Well, in case they don't know who Jay Johnson is, you're known for your TV show that you were on with Soap, and that's huge. I mean, that's where I met you years ago in California when I was a kid in Bakersfield, and you were a part of a cast with Harry Anderson. Remind me with the show, is it The Left-Handed League?
The Left-Handed League, yeah.
You were in a show at the PCAM, and that's where I met you I was 17, and you were 18.
Thank you for that estimate. Yeah, we're calculating age in Celsius now.
Yes, right. But that's where I met you. But later I found out you don't do a lot of, I would say, magic conventions per se, do you?
No, not really. My friend and partner Harry Anderson is the one that really has made the rounds and knows what that's all about. And the few that I've been to with him were always fun. But, you know, being a ventriloquist, I'm just kind of the juggler at the singers convention, you know, so.
Well, but, you know, at the same time, I think the ventriloquists and the jugglers are always the ones who stand out, the ones at the magic conventions, in my opinion. I mean, I've seen some really killer shows, and those guys, like yourself, I think you stole the show that night. You did a great job on that show in California. So that's why I think it's going to be great to have you. You're going to be part of our show here in Atlanta Harvest. You're going to do a little Q&A and talk. You're going to talk with Harry and John Rockenbomber one night. That's going to be fun. And then you're going to be part of the gala show. You're going to do the MC and then bring out your characters. What characters are you bringing with you?
You know, I probably will be Bob and Darwin. They seem to travel the best with me. But, you know, there's always Spalding, the talking tennis ball, and Amigo the Snake. They kind of fit in anywhere, and they're always around with me. So really, as they get closer, I think they kind of determine who wants to go, who doesn't, you know.
Right.
I have to call their agents and make sure that the bird is ready, you know.
Well, I don't want to waste your time on talking about the TV stuff because you guys are going to be talking about this at the convention, so I don't want to sound redundant. So, but I do want to quickly talk about your Tony Award and kind of give people an idea of what you will be talking about. I mean, and showing parts of your show, which I've heard that it's going to be, is it on demand, I heard? Is that right?
Yeah, actually, we just made the deal within the last couple of weeks, starting on demand, not on demand, but in demand.
In demand.
It's the supplier for on demand at most of the video cable suppliers. And so starting August 1st, that will be available on a pay-per-view worldwide premiere for maybe a couple of months. So it's a limited time, but it's
a big deal.
show. The show, as we did it on Broadway, we recreated the set and everything, and actually shot it in North Carolina at a theater that was almost exactly like the New York Theater. We just couldn't get back in the New York Theater, but I'm very excited about it. It'll be fun.
Now, the show is called The Two and Only, is that right?
That's right. It's actually called Jay Johnson, The Two and Only, because the title is kind of my inside joke about myself. I am the two and only. Harry used to call me that. But years ago on Broadway, Bob and Ray, the radio team Bob and Ray.
Yes.
They actually did a short run on Broadway, and they called it Bob and Ray, the Two and Only. So there were two of them and one of me, so I've made it into a joke, but it is Jay Johnson, Two and Only.
Well, now the show, is it about your life?
Well, it is, and it's about ventriloquism. It's about artists. It's about how you become an artist, what drives you and your teachers and your mentors. And it's just, it's got a lot of different meta-narratives to it. But mainly it's the story of ventriloquism, and I give a lot of history about ventriloquism. I've always been fascinated by the history of magic and ventriloquism, who both came from this kind of dark divination kind of necromancy, where you're trying to kind of indicate you have some powers that are extra-worldly. And so there's a lot of that with the show. We get into that history. And
great.
Of course, at some point in the history of ventriloquism, I insert myself because that's the career I chose. And from that moment on, we kind of go neck and neck as to ventriloquism and my life in it. So,
well, you had the DVD in California. I think you had just gotten the DVD, if I recall, at the CAX. And,
yes, screeners, and we were looking for reps and everything. And I think we had the rep at the time. We just didn't know where we were going to put it. But in demand came up, and that's a great place for it. So
yeah, well, I remember getting a copy out there, and I actually watched it in California, and I want to say it's like 2.5 hours, and it was just you couldn't turn it off. It was that great. I mean, I think it was sad, it's happy. I mean, it was a lot of emotions in that play. Well,
thanks, Ken. Yeah, that's what we were after. A lot of people go to New York and will go to a theater and do a concert. They'll do their nightclub act and extend it till the length of a theater show. And that was not my desire. My desire was to use all the tools that a theater has, and what you're allowed to do in a theater show that you really can't do in a comedy club so much is play with those darker emotions, like sadness and happiness and tearfulness and those heart-rendering moments. You can't much do in a comedy club, but they really do work on stage, and that's my fun part.
You feel that I think it was 2.5 hours. Is that right?
Well, actually, it's 114 minutes, which is about an hour 45, probably. So not quite two.
It was great. I really loved it. But so anyway, we're looking forward to talking about that. And you had so many nice clips from that you showed us at the last convention you and I worked. So I hope we can do that again at the Harvest. And I have to ask, with you being on Soap for so many years as Chuck, where was your sidekick Bob? You've worked with Bob for how many years now?
Well, Bob was new to me for Soap, so 77 when we started that show. I was working with Squeaky, another character, and they kind of wanted to cast this look that they had in mind for a puppet. So I started working with Bob, and I found out it was impossible to work with anybody else because I was known kind of like, Laurel without Hardy. It looked like I was cheating on my wife.
So you had to use Bob.
So now Bob is my main guy, along with about 11 other characters. But the original Bob that we used for the first 2 years on Soap is now in the Smithsonian Institute.
I was just about to ask that. We were there. It's been there for, at least 7 years, 5 years?
Yeah, just about that.
We were there last year and we saw it.
Oh, did you? Oh my God! I have not seen that. I've seen pictures of it, but I haven't seen the display. So
it's great. So yeah, I was going to ask you, you had to let go of your original one, but I guess they've made several, or did they make 2 or 3, or?
Well, there were 3 original Bobs. 2 of them we used on Soap. One was a backup for the other, just in case. then when it came time for me to kind of go from television to do the live shows that I was doing with Bob, the mechanism, I really wanted to improve, make him a little faster, make him a little more stage friendly rather than just camera friendly. So the one that I use now is actually the third clone of the series. So, but the original is in New York, Washington.
That's great. That's great. Now, again, you're going to be doing a little Q&A with Harry Anderson, who's going to be here with you. And you and Harry have known each other for how many years? I mean, goes back how long?
Yeah, I'm afraid to even count. We met just about the time I was doing soap. That's been, more than 30 years. So
no, I think you said at one point that he was your opening act. Is that right?
That's exactly how it happened. I'd just come on soap, so I was getting headline requests, and Mike Lacey, who owns the Comedy and Magic Club here in Hermosa Beach, he was booking this club in Reno, Nevada, and he said, "I'll find an opening act, that'd be great." And I said, "Perfect." And it was Harry. So I think the moment we met, it was a great team. I'm godfather to his kids. He's godfather to my kids. We have, since that day, really, I don't think a week has gone by that we haven't talked 3 times on the phone. So
good. Well, it's going to be a treat having him here with his lecture than having you talking about your stuff. Because I think you're now with your show, with the play. Are you with doing ventriloquist? Is it very scripted? Do you find that to be a very scripted art form, or is it very impromptu? How do you look at that?
Well, I'm more of a jazz guy than a real kind of do it the same way every time. Although when you're doing television or you're doing stage work, there's not a lot of opportunity to go too far off script because there are people listening for cues and lighting cues and camera cues are going to happen. But within the structure of knowing where you're going, it's kind of like the chord structure of a jazz piece. You can flow and ebb within that and still be on the beat, and that's what I try to do. I think of it as jazz.
Yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about scripting and how important scripting is, but I'm on the side where as long as you have the cliff notes and where you're going to go, you can be ready to turn off different streets if you need to.
That's the way I feel. I always want the opportunity of playing off the moment.
Absolutely.
That moment is never going to happen again, and you can't script that. So,
right.
Yes, you have to be prepared, and you have to do your homework, and you can't just walk on stage and assume you're going to be brilliant without thinking about it. So everyone has a script, whether it's written down or not, or it's all in your head. We follow a pattern, but like you, I like to be ready to take those U-turns and go someplace we've never been before.
Well, great. Well, Jay, we look forward to having you here at the Atlanta Harvest of Magic in September. It's September 11th through 13th, and you're going to be here hanging out with. It's a small little party that takes place, and I think you're going to fit in well, and I think everyone's going to enjoy hanging with you and talking with you, and because you're very accessible. You were in California, so I look forward to you being a part of this.
Well, I'm looking forward to it myself. I although I chose ventriloquism as a career, magic has always been fascinating to me. And if I'd been better at it, I'm sure that would have been my career. But I was better at talking than doing a double lift. So there you go.
That's great. Well, we'll see you very soon. Now, should we tell them when the In Demand, when does that come on? Do we know?
August 1st it starts.
August 1st. And where can people go to see that or check that out?
It's on almost every cable access that you have. It's Time Warner, it's Cox, it's In Demand, not In Demand, but Direct.
Okay.
Just about any supplier. If you go to pay-per-view, it'll probably be there.
Okay. So. And you said it's going to run for a couple weeks?
A couple of weeks, maybe a month or two. Okay. So.
But then at the very end, you will at least, when you come here to Atlanta, you will have your actual the play, the Jay Johnson 2 and Only, the video, the DVD movie. You'll have with you here.